After David's stark description of his overwhelming circumstances in verses 1 through 2, Psalm 3 through 4 pivoted from problem to provision and from crisis to confidence. But thou, O Lord, art a shield for me, my glory, and the lifter up of mine head. I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and he heard me out of his holy hill, Selah. The opening conjunction marks a decisive transition. David refused to remain fixated on his enemy's assessment. Instead, he countered their claims with declarations about God's character and actions. His enemies denied divine aid, but David remained certain. The phrase, "But thou, O Lord," establishes a direct contrast between the many who opposed him and the one who defended him. David addresses God using the covenant name Yahweh, Lord, emphasizing his personal relationship. While the masses turned against him, David turned towards the one whose commitment never wavered. David employs three vivid metaphors to describe God's role in his crisis. First, God is a shield about him. David portrayed God as his defender. Unlike normal shields that protected only one side, God surrounded David on all sides. This military imagery counters the rising enemies mentioned in verse 2. Though outnumbered, David stood protected by divine armor. Second, David called God my glory. This striking phrase reveals that David's honor and significance came not from his royal position, which was under attack, but from his relationship with God. Even stripped of throne and city, David kept what mattered most. His enemies could take his crown, but not his true glory. Third, God was the lifter up of mine head. This beautiful image conveys both restoration of dignity and renewal of hope. In ancient Near Eastern culture, those in shame or defeat hung their heads low. By lifting David's head, God restores his confidence and perspective. The phrase suggests not just emotional comfort, but active vindication. David believes God will raise him up again. These three metaphors refute the taunt of verse 2. Far from abandoning David, God shielded, honored, and restored him. The enemy's theological assessment proved wrong. Verse 4 moves from declaration to testimony. I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and he heard me out of his holy hill. David recounts a specific experience of prayer and God's response. The verb cried shows an intense vocal prayer. This wasn't formal ritualistic prayer, but raw, urgent communication. The reference to God's holy hill carries poignancy, given David's situation. The holy hill referred to Mount Zion in Jerusalem, the location of the tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant. David had fled from Jerusalem, yet he experienced God's presence despite the geographical separation from the sanctuary. Though exiled from the place of worship, he wasn't exiled from God. The phrase, "he heard me," testified to his prayer's effectiveness. David didn't just hope for a divine response, he experienced it. The past tense suggested this wasn't a dream, but a recollection of actual divine intervention. For Christian readers, these verses offer profound encouragement during seasons of opposition and crisis. They reveal that circumstances never dictate God's disposition towards his people. When enemies surround and doubts assail, believers can still experience God's protective presence. Christians find their true worth in their relationship with God. This passage also illustrates the power of countering lies with truth. David didn't ignore his problems, but he refused to let enemy voices have the last word about God's attitude toward him. His response models faith's refutation of fear, supplanting the enemy's claim of David's hopelessness with the Lord's pronouncements.